Well, we're on to phase 2. Okay. As we do at the beginning of every meeting, or in this case, the beginning of the second half of our meeting, we give the public an opportunity to come up and comment. Is there anybody that would like to come up and speak to the board? Okay, not seeing any. I'd like a motion to actually move the action items of this evening's agenda up to the next part of our meeting. Is there, and before I do that, I need a motion to approve the, no, actually I need an action item to change the agenda. Do I have a motion to change the agenda?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Great. We've now moved the action items up to the next part of the agenda. So with that, Mr. Canty, can you come up and talk about textbooks?
I'm going to ask the Spanish team to come up with the initiative.
He respects his elders. It's so nice. It's such a joke.
Thank you, Mr. Likely, for modifying the agenda. Our teachers, of course, are at a very busy time of year. We'll welcome the opportunity to get home in a reasonable hour so they can be ready to go in their classrooms tomorrow.
Absolutely.
It's a special night, actually, to have so many of our instructional leaders and members of our faculty with us here to present a variety of textbook proposals for your consideration. I know that as part of your board packet, you've had an opportunity to review the proposals. What we'll do tonight is just to try to provide a brief overview of the recommendation from each of our various teams. And as part of that approach, what I'll do is I'll ask the principals to introduce the members of the faculty who are here tonight for each presentation. So I'll start with Mr. O'Donnell.
I will thank at this time Scott Webster, our instructional leader for world languages and a master Spanish teacher, and along with the others, somebody who spearheaded and led this initiative with the new textbook. Scott, thanks for being here.
Mrs. Harris.
And it's my pleasure to introduce Rosemary Dellinger. I'm adopting her for this evening from Cider Mill, and who's the instructional leader for world languages there, and of course Simon Valenzi, who's the instructional leader for world languages at Middlebrook. And if I may just interject, this, when you talk about collaboration in 21st century skills, this is it right here. They have done an incredible job together looking out for the best interest of our students. And also Mr. O'Donnell is a world language teacher, so he's been quite instrumental in this the textbook selection.
We'll let you instruction leaders begin and present the proposal.
First of all, thank you very much for entertaining our proposal this evening. I wore my money tie in hopes that some might fall away. I realize you have a very full agenda, so we'll try and be brief. Hopefully you've had a chance to look through our proposal and see some of our textbooks. This is a district initiative for Spanish. We realize that our textbooks, the current series, Ven Conmigo, which we use district-wide, is pretty outdated and not really relevant to 21st century learners. So we got together to propose a new textbook series with a different publisher, which is why we're here this evening. And we researched 3 different textbooks. We did a lot of research on area schools. We went through a proposal evaluation sheet on page 2. Sorry, page 1 kind of goes through the evaluation criteria that we looked at. Some of the things of which a book that's appropriately challenging, correct alignment with the national and state standards, provides many support and multimedia ancillary materials for our students. And it was pretty unanimous that we came to the decision to choose Realidades, which is by Pearson. And we already have some Pearson textbooks in the district, as well as our Power School is also a Pearson product, which is nice because there's going to be starting the year after this. The year after next, it's going to be fully integrated, so that'll have class lists will align and grading programs will align. So that's one of the nice features about this. And so we're going to be using this grades 6 through 10 and with, of course, an introduction from Cider Mill based on thematic units. So, and then on the third page, you'll see some hopefully smallish looking dollar figures that, that we hope you'll see as necessary for as we launch this new initiative. And we had a representative from Pearson join us a couple of weeks ago. There were 9 of us representing all 3 schools. And she walked us through the program, and it was just invaluable. It was great to learn about the wealth of ancillary materials and technological pieces that accompany this program. So it just made us even more excited about this series.
Simon's.
Yeah, and I'd like to talk to you a little bit about why we also chose this book as opposed to continuing with the El Camino, the series that we have now. We really love the structure of the book. It's very similar to what the kids are used to. It's culturally based, so there's a video that opens the chapter, the theme. So the kids get to be exposed to the language and people from authentic, countries, people from different countries around the world. And we also really like the fact that the technology is amazing with this textbook. When Maria came and presented the technology part to us, we were just blown away by all the things we can do. We could have spent the whole day talking about the different aspects of the technology. I just want to highlight a few points. Students will have access to the e-text version of the textbook, which is basically having the textbook on the computer or on an iPad. There's also a free app on the iPad or the iPhone via Pearson, where the kids can actually see the textbook on the iPad, which is great. And with the textbook, we're going to get a license to give access to the kids to online activities and games and assessments, and that's valid for about 6 years, which is great. So the online activities help the kids practice and also reinforce what they learn in class. There's different segments, one called Video Cultural, which allows the kids to watch videos and answer questions to just assess their comprehension of what's going on in the videos. Documentaries on history of the cultures they're going to learn about. Gram Activa, which is a grammar videos. There's actually lessons in the video format, which is great. They have quizzes, which are little questions after the grammar sections of each video. Pura Vida storyline, which is a little bit like a soap opera type video, very appropriate for the kids, age appropriate, and it helps them develop their understanding of the spoken language. This vocabulary and grammar workbook is actually online as well. The kids can take quizzes and exercises, and then the teachers get to correct them online, which is great. They also have a lot of communicative activity. They have a segment called Real Talk, which gives students a chance to speak and record themselves and listen to what they did. They can make flashcards online. There's an online culture reading activity, games to reinforce what they do in class. They also try to reach students with different learning abilities, like I would say, and they have all different kind of formats to cater to those kids that learn differently, and that's all online, so that's really, really great. And there's also a great tech support, and I've already used it, which is interesting, and great training for teachers through video modules and webinars, and we have one planned for the 25th for Middlebrook.
Tentatively.
Anything else?
We invite your questions.
Well, I have to say we bantered some questions about within the board, and I know you saw some of those. We greatly appreciate the response to that. It was nice to see how it all maps out. Were there any other questions that anybody had?
You did a very good job describing. You answered all my questions in your.
Yes, you did.
Thank you.
But you're going. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Laura.
Okay. Mr. Valenzi did a great job. I assume there's similar components for the high school. Like,
yes, it's all the same at every level.
Because the language lab, right?
Yes, everything is nicely aligned with with our labs.
Okay, so you can take advantage
Which is
of
very
that.
exciting.
That's
Yeah, it
great.
just gives us even more opportunities for listening and speaking activities.
Good.
And also there's a wealth of information out there, activities generated by Smartboard, which excites me. I'm a big Smartboard kid. So we're excited to jump into that as well.
And also Pearson owns Power School, so next year, 2013, it's all going to be connected directly through Power School. When we grade activities or quizzes, it can go directly into Power School.
That's
So
wonderful.
they're going to develop that for next year, which is great.
And their scores, they have instant feedback too. And they have 3 attempts, and all those scores will be recorded and put right into your grading book, which is nice.
Great book.
I was just wondering, you're ordering enough books so that you're going to actually distribute the textbooks as well, right?
Yes.
Now, why would you do that versus just having a classroom copy since they have access online to the textbook?
Because the way the license works, we have to buy the textbook to get the online access.
Yeah.
We haven't made that
Publishers
actual.
Yeah, okay.
And for many kids, it may stay in their locker.
Yeah.
It
It's true.
it should, actually.
And it should,
It
yeah.
should, to save their backs.
Right.
Oh, my
Because they can access everything at home, the textbook, all the workbooks,
Okay.
ancillaries, even more that's just in the book.
So when they're on vacation, they can't claim they forgot their book.
Right.
No excuse.
But no internet
And when the
connection.
computer's down,
No internet.
No Wi-Fi wherever they are, you know.
Oh, there will be. Oh, wonderful.
Oh, and then the licensing is good for 6 years? And then what
Right.
happens, do we renew it, or do we have to buy new textbooks?
they were not able to answer that question yet because they say since technology evolves so much, they'll have it playing in place in the next few years.
Yeah.
We did ask that question.
Wonderful, thank you. Do we need, point of order, what do we need to do as far as each of these textbook proposals? I see they're on here as review and discuss. If we're okay with them, do they come back on the consent agenda?
They're action. They're an action.
They're under
Okay.
action, but it says
It does say
review and discuss.
review and discuss.
It should say discuss and approve.
Okay, so that's a typo. Okay, do we want to,
Subject by subject?
do we want to go subject by subject, or we want to do it in order?
Yeah, why don't we?
Each book.
Okay.
Yes.
Can I have a motion to approve the new science, Spanish book?
So moved.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Good job. Aye.
Gracias.
Thank you.
The tie works, Scott.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks.
They're great. Jason, you and Jason too, right? Red? 8 red?
We're on next to social studies, I believe?
Oh, okay.
Actually,
He's great.
we have a
Thank
different
you.
batting order for you.
Okay.
Well, thank you, board members, for hearing our additional 4 departmental proposals. We appreciate your
We're
time.
out of money now, though.
You are.
So that's it. Spanish books, that's
They
it.
didn't hear that. The order of presentation will be science, math, social studies, and business. So Jim Lucy and Martha Russell are here, and they will present our Biology 3, our honors biology proposal. And Sue Sedham is here as well. Jim?
Good evening. Thank you for your time tonight. I wore the money tie and the money jacket. Scott left. He stole my joke. No. Tonight we're looking at adopting a new biology textbook. The current biology textbook is the BSCS, and they're no longer publishing the BSCS. So it is grossly out of date. So we looked at a number of different publishers, and I'll let Dr. Russell fill you in a little bit, but we also chose a Pearson book for all of the online textbooks and all the online support. So Martha, you could talk a little bit about.
Thank you very much for inviting us to present our proposal. The proposal was drafted by Brenda Aversano, Kate Eckenrode, and myself under the guidance of Bob O'Donnell, Linda Lyle, and our instructional leader, Jim Lucy. And we compared 3 different textbooks for the purpose of writing this proposal, but in the process of choosing those 3, we started off in a general sense by going online to find out what textbooks could be used for honors biology, and also contacting as many schools as we could in our DUR to see what textbooks they were using, and if they made a recent change, what other textbooks did they consider, and what were the criteria they used for choosing that textbook. And we did find out that Greenwich, Westport, and Weston use this textbook, which we ended up deciding was best suited to our honors biology program. We also talked with company representatives in terms of textbook style and support materials, and asked these representatives what biology texts they were most often purchased for honors biology programs, and this was the #1 textbook that they sold. And as Jim mentioned, the BSCS textbook is very outdated, and in calling the representative to find out more about it and if it would be updated, she recommended because it was funny, talking about another textbook. So we examined the 3 of them with regard to the content, the diagrams, the support materials, the end-of-chapter assessments, and the reading level, thanks to Peg Stearns, who did that part of the work. To summarize our findings very briefly, in terms of the content, we thought that Campbell's biology, the other biology book, and I'm mostly going to talk about this in the AutoCirc because the BSCS wasn't really a strong competitor, although it's included in this report. But we found that the Campbell textbook presented the material in these very small concept bites, which we thought was best suited to the adolescent brain of today. And they make almost a web of concepts underneath the 8 themes of biology, so that I think there can be very high-level connections made. The other textbook, although very good also, presented the material in more of an outline form and in a linear fashion like traditional biology textbooks. In terms of diagrams, we thought Campbell, although both Campbell and AutoCirc were very good, we thought that the diagrams in Campbell were much more sophisticated, and that they were labeled much more clearly. And in some cases, there would be a diagram here with the red 1, 2, 3 corresponding to the 1, 2, 3 in the text. And so it really made reference back and forth to the diagrams pretty easy. In terms of the support materials, both were good. Both have an e-book. And the neat thing is both of them also have a program called Mastering Biology, where you can read the e-book, highlight certain sections, or take notes via this little notepad. And there are just a lot of different opportunities for looking at the material in a more clear fashion. As far as the reading level, we found that biology concepts and connections seem to be most suited to the high school biology, the honors biology level. And so on the basis of all these criteria, we decided that this was the best choice, and it was best suited to our honors biology program. And if you have any questions, we'd be happy to entertain them.
All right.
One of the questions I had, but I think actually the Spanish teachers answered it. This is also a Pearson book, so does so it works right into Power School, because that was what I saw in the introduction. It talked about how you could export grades, but that's pretty easy to do. Yes.
It'll sync.
That's great. Okay. That's what.
And I would assume aligned with then your biology AP class puts the student in a good position to take the AP class.
Right. As a matter of fact, this book is affectionately called Baby Campbell because it is the honors version of the Campbell textbook, which is the AP version that the AP course uses, and so there are a lot of diagrams in common. The AP version is, of course, more detailed, but that was another plus in its favor.
And also aligned with like the SAT prep, the subject test for biology, or would that be after the AP? Would this prepare a student for that test?
And I can let Jim speak to this somewhat, but in terms of preparation for the SAT, the material is there, but our biology course doesn't cover all of the material tested on the SAT, and so the additional material would be in that text that students would be responsible for learning.
The majority of my AP students are taking the SAT after AP biology. So.
Okay.
And that is also the case with our honors chemistry. There's also the SAT in chemistry. We tend to go a little bit deeper and cover less material but deeper. So the students going for the SAT2 in chemistry also have to, we help them with the concepts of not to cover as much detail.
What's the book that you're using right now for non-honors biology, and are we going to be seeing a proposal for that sometime soon?
That book is a Miller book that has been purchased a couple of years ago, so we're fine with that book.
Is there any gap in instruction between where that book lets off and this one picks up?
This book here has more quotations, more references to studies from 2009. The book we have is a 2009 copyright, if my memory serves me correct, and so they're not referencing 2009 information. Biology, more so than chemistry and physics, it becomes almost obsolete in 3 years. So that does not mean we're coming in front of you asking for another textbook in 3 years. We've been actively exploring online versions, and as of now, I think the textbook schools are a little bit ahead of the curve in this. We just adopted and purchased an environmental science textbook, and that came with an online version. So 1 or 2 students lost their online codes. So I'm in contact with the publisher who wants to charge me $124 for the code. And I'm trying to tell them, no, I bought the book for $124. The code came with it.
Right.
And so so they don't know what to do with me with this. So we're on the cutting edge with this. But what I envision, iPads, electronic books.
That's my question, because when we were reviewing the textbooks, there was a study guide that went with this. Is that something that students are going to access online, or is that not part of the?
I don't think the teacher gets a copy of the study guide, but I don't think it's something that we would purchase for the students. The students could purchase it on their own if they wanted, but we do give them assignments, or could, from a study guide. But a lot of that material is actually online in terms of the mastering biology. So there are quizzes. There are some of the units in this book which put it a little above the other biology textbook, is that there are MP3 recordings of talks about some of the most difficult concepts. So in addition to the mastering biology, there's those MP3 recordings. So there's a vast array of support materials that come with this textbook that the students can use once they're registered online.
And the biology teachers will utilize everything they can possibly utilize to bring this subject to life. We brought Sue with us, but she'll be teaching the honors bio next year.
So this will be like night and day compared to what we have now.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's really
So
exciting.
Sounds like
it is huge.
Yeah, thank you for including the chapter samples. That was really helpful. I learned a lot.
Would you like to borrow?
No, I had myself.
Do we have any other questions? Can I have a motion to approve the textbook?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
a huge advance.
Have fun with it.
Thank you.
You're staying for math?
Next, we'll invite David Dalzell and Suzanne Marson, our co-instructional leaders for mathematics, for our pre-calc discrete presentation.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So, I came before the board in 1989 as a new instructional leader. I'm going to give you the whole history. No. And I proposed a University of Chicago text, and it was adopted.
So you're the guy.
I'm the guy. I've been both blamed and congratulated ever since. It's the district both ways, and it's the winds of change are upon us. It's time to move beyond that, and so we're starting the process like we did before, sort of in the middle, except this time with an analysis text. We've took a look at quite a few more than I listed here. These were the top three, which we studied carefully and spent time with. We chose a Glencoe text, as you saw, because, well, for a number of reasons. The whole sequence is good. So we looked at this as looking towards the future, not just one book. So the Glencoe sequence is a great one. This textbook is a great one. It meets our needs for analysis/discrete. We're going to use this same textbook over 2 years. This will replace 2 different University of Chicago texts, which worked all right. We've already done some work with the book. We know how to split it. We've got it figured out. It splits very well, so that there shouldn't be any transition issues. What we particularly liked about the whole Glencoe series was that the technology is so great. We've been using smart boards now for a number of years, and the board in their wisdom has put some money into that, but we can't do anything like what the publishers are now doing. So they're providing this thing of huge scope that takes the whole textbook and provides lesson plans and provides tools to teach it with and provides animations and provides smart buttons and so on. And we actually Ms. Marsan has for the last half a year piloted the Glencoe text ever since we chose. So she's tried it in an Analysis 2 class. Fortunately, she taught one, and they made the materials open to her, and it's worked very well. So I'm not going to say very much. That's about as much as I said in 1989.
We'll run the video.
How long have you been a math teacher here?
Since the early 80s, 82, I guess.
It sounds like this text has you energized.
Yes, I like it a lot. A brand new text is, every year the new notebooks was made one feel good. You're about to enter into something. A brand new text would do that.
Questions? Motion to approve.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
You should know that at the challenge contest this afternoon, the students actually lumped up on the calculus questions. So
They asked me to play that game, and I respectfully declined, saying I'm just not fast enough to.
I think somebody had answered some of them before the questions.
They're pretty good.
It was pretty impressive.
Pretty good.
Great display.
Congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. Thanks, man.
Social studies. If I got your list right.
You got it. We'll invite Eileen Foley and Frida Vogelcloud to present our AP Econ and Sociology textbooks. Hello. You remember Ms. Vogelcloud, who presented the new proposal a few short months ago. Thank you for being here. Eileen?
Well, we're here tonight to take a look at 2 proposals. The first one is for a sociology textbook. I think the last text we bought was probably back in 1990, 1991. And we've actually not been using a text for that course over the years. And then the second proposal for books is the textbook for the AP Economics. So I'm going to begin with the sociology, then Frida will talk a little bit about the economics. Kent Smith and I rewrote the curriculum last summer, and then it became a task looking for a text that best supported our curriculum. And we looked at two texts, which are the premier texts for sociology, the Henslin text and the Mishonis text. And what we discovered about the Henslin's text is that it really is Henslin's opinion about sociology. It really has that his bias, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, because you can always supplement it with other materials. But the problem with that text was it really didn't support the curriculum that we wrote. The Mishonis does. The Mishonis has the depth and the breadth that we need to support what we wrote. The other nice thing about the Mishonis text is it does include an e-text. It's bundled. Like most of the textbooks are bundled. You get the hard copy and then you get the e-text. But for 2012, beginning in July, they expect to have a text that you can upload to the iPad. And that's kind of nice because kids can tap on the word if they don't understand a word or concept, and it pops up and it explains it to them. So we thought that was pretty good. Plus, we piloted both books this year. Both Kent Smith and I used excerpts from each of the books and found that the kids really liked the Mishonis and found it more accessible. They were able to use the PowerPoints and use that in a flipped classroom lesson. So they did the PowerPoints at home, and based upon the lesson the next day, they were able to engage in discussion. So those are available as well to students. So we're requesting that we adopt that textbook.
Questions?
I just want to say I was happy to see that the e-text comes with the new version over 6 years. I mean, that's great.
Yeah, they're offering us 6 years for that, which is good.
Yeah. Sociology is updated.
Yeah.
And it changes.
Yeah, it changes.
Motion to accept?
So,
Second? All in favor?
Aye. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Well, once you approve the AP Economics course, that started a search for a textbook. And I've attended several workshops over the years and have colleagues who have taught this course, so I consulted them. Also, the Council for Economic Education that I'm affiliated with gave an AP workshop free of charge last winter that I attended, and the workshop leader, who is instrumental in editing AP exams on the editorial board, whatever, she highly recommended this book, the title that we are recommending, and other colleagues as well, at Federal Reserve workshops, and I've been kind of talking and asking, hoping. So this Anderson and Ray's version of Krugman's college text seems to be very enthusiastically received by the AP teaching community. The two basic Bibles of AP Economics have been Mankiw, who's a Harvard professor, Principles of Macro Micro, and McConnell-Broome. These were more geared for the college freshman course. It was very dry. And not really for the high school audience. But that's what we had. And those, I mean, there are others, but these were the two favorite ones. And I took the Taft workshop about 5 years ago through our Education Foundation, and there were various books that we were shown samples of, and it was these two. Anyway, so Krugman and Wells, his co-author, came out with a book a few years ago, but that too was mainly for the college freshman course. And then Anderson and Ray, who are on the editorial board of the AP exam, adopted that book in a teaching module format, which follows directly. It's really the recipe for preparing your students for AP, and that's what I've heard from the other teachers. So they're enthused about this. It's very popular. It's new, just having come out last year. So a lot of the districts don't have it because they didn't buy books since 2011. But that's what we are recommending. And it also comes with the CD and e-text and the various.
And Frida met with the book representative today, and we can deal with her.
I always feel
That's
that's good.
Yeah, that's good to know.
Questions? I have to say, I did take both of those books home. They did put me to sleep. But I enjoy economics especially, and it was, I can see your point. They've made economics interesting. I enjoyed it. So.
And of course, we always supplement curriculum with other materials so that the students get a balanced point of view.
And it seems this text, the economic text and the sociology, our companies are now attaching videos to them too, online videos, so kids can access lessons online, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah. Motion approved?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Congratulations. Thank you.
And Amy Cohen will present our web design materials. Amy? And Rebby Townsend, our instructional leader.
I'm just here this evening to introduce and support Amy. I couldn't tell you anything about it. But I can tell you that Carl Perkins is going to pay for it.
Very helpful.
So when you approved the website design course this fall, we launched a search for a textbook. And I have to say from the beginning I was pretty opposed to using an actual text for this course, but I really put it in the students' hands. Several students came to me and said they'd really have been interested in taking this course if we had offered it earlier. So I had several seniors that looked into books. I went to some conferences, picked up several different HTML books. I gave them to the students. We met a few times, went over the textbooks, and they just said to me, we can't do this out of a textbook. This isn't going to work for us. So I went to another conference where I met a woman from Newtown High School that also taught a website design course there. And she suggested taking more of a simulation approach, which I thought seemed much more feasible. So I gave it again to the kids, and I said, see what you can do with this, and they fell in love with it. They said, this is the way we want to do this course. It makes more sense. We're in a computer lab. And then, as luck would have it, they also had an ebook. So we are going to just use the ebook. We're going to skip over the textbook portion, just go to an ebook since we have the iPads available and the computers, so they can look up terminology when they have trouble with it in the book, and have the iPad and have the computer to work on the simulation. So we're basically going to be doing a simulation as a textbook. That pretty much sums it up.
Does the workbook cover like glossary words and things like that you would find in a text? I imagine that sort of.
It's all built
as you
into
go
the
along
simulation,
there.
and the nice part about using the iPads and having them is that you can literally click on the word and it'll look it up online.
So you're not missing
and give
anything
you,
by not having the text.
No.
Okay, that's what I figured.
And they've given me tons of resources. I've done a lot of research. This summer, during my curriculum days, I'm going to compile all the websites and really see what we're going to use and what we're not going to use. So it's not going to be just a simulation alone. We're going to use a lot of online resources as well.
And I thought it was really nice that you brought the students in, since they do know so much more about us.
They do.
Wonderful. Any other questions? Motion to approve?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your support of our
Bob?
students and our teachers.
I
Thank
thought
you.
you were staying with us, too.
Yeah.
You're getting so comfortable sitting there.
I have to say it's exciting to see this much new technology, but new curriculum coming into our schools. It's you can see and feel the energy in the teachers. I'm sure we're going to see and feel it in the kids. So thank you very much for all your hard work. At this point, we move on to the consent agenda.
You don't want to
No, you have the
We have maps on the calendar.
under action items.
The math program.
We just did that.
Oh, we just did the first part.
Yeah.
Thought I approved that. Okay, K-12, Tim, you're coming back. Why did you leave? That was my cue to move on.
Do get more stuff.
Wait, does that mean we're going to do the school calendar early now, too?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he thought he was going to slip it in there at the end.
We're all asleep.
If I just
Fresh
may,
now.
before we begin, editorial comments, I hope the board appreciates and I know you do, the power of the faculty in our school district. And here you just have a sample of a group of individuals who are dedicated to their students, and just the process that they use, their research, to make these important decisions is something that, in my role, I recognize, and I hope you do as well.
You know, I think to Tim's point, I think one of the things I applaud our faculty for is that the fact that they've really done it the right way. They've looked at what they decided what a curriculum would be, and then decided what the textbook would be that would support that curriculum. And I think sometimes school districts, I've seen them where they just say, this is the textbook and it's going to drive the whole curriculum. And I think our teachers have really thoughtfully, and instructional leaders have really wrestled with the tough questions, and I think you get a nicer result when you do that.
My second comment is to reinforce the strongly held view that I have that the gentleman to my left is just becoming such an important resource as it relates to curriculum and instruction, because as you saw in the presentations, technology now is so integrated in everything that we do from a curriculum standpoint. So although you weren't at the table, certainly Matt is going to have to support all the adoptions in terms of the role of technology. So I just wanted to make that point as well. But just a quick update on the work involved in trying to promote the board's attention as it relates to the K-12 math adoption that we presented in our last meeting. I just wanted to report to the board that I had the opportunity to meet with the faculty at Miller Driscoll and at Cider Mill. I was grateful for the invitation to attend their faculty meetings and had the opportunity to share with our teachers, K-5, a similar presentation that was given to the board around the philosophy of the program, some of the benefits in terms of the approach, and of course the relationship to other issues as it relates to the Common Core and the upcoming state assessments. So those were purposeful meetings, and again I wanted to thank the administration for providing me with that opportunity. We are well positioned to push the green button tomorrow if we are to receive the support of the board, because this is an ambitious plan. It's going to require a tremendous amount of work from our administrative staff and from our instructional leadership team and our teachers. It's an ambitious plan to put this program in place. And again, we're referencing the Math in Focus Singapore Math program, implementing fully at grades K, 3, 4, 5, and 6, in selected courses in grades 7 and 8, partial adoption in grades 1 and 2, and then as part of the proposal, you may recall that we have Common Core-oriented adoptions in Algebra 1 at the high school. I just want to also acknowledge once again the team of professionals that I have with me here tonight. We have our instructional leadership team. You've already seen Dave and Suzanne from the high school, but we also have Nicole Strauss representing Middlebrook, Kate Stalford, who did a wonderful job with the Smartboard presentation in our last meeting, and Laura Connell is here as well, representing Miller Driscoll, along with Joe Schultz, who's her co-instructional leader who couldn't be here tonight. I certainly acknowledge the work of the principals and also the assistant principals, Rich Sanzo, who's here tonight, and Tom Ford, and also Kevin Welch and Leslie Pearson for their hard work as members of our K-12 committee. So we continue to look at our adoption plan, where we have plans in place around trying to make sure that we procure these materials in a timely fashion for the start of the school year. And we've also put in place a strong professional development plan. We would actually engage training during that last week in June with our staff. And of course, what's yet to come is we're going to have to do a great deal of public relations. We talked about that last time with our parent community to bring them up to speed on the philosophy and goals of the program. So we welcome any follow-up questions you may have, and we seek the board's approval tonight for this recommendation.
Questions? Motion to approve?
So moved.
Second? All in favor?
Did you have some? Did you have Oh, just open.
No more questions?
Yeah, no, I just want to say there's a lot of talk in the community, and everyone's just very excited about this. So thank you.
On behalf of our team, thank you.
Okay.
And thanks for.
We need a vote.
I need the vote.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I want to hear what Laura has to say.
Yeah.
She always says very
I just
thought-provoking
appreciate
things.
all the work. This was really exciting, and all the work that went into the proposals to the board and reading them and how thorough they were and how much work you all put in. It's greatly appreciated, and thank you.
Completely
and thanks
agree.
to all our math teachers. They're great.
Wonderful. At this point, we move on to the 2013-2014
Not to be confused.
school calendar.
This is always one of my favorite meetings of the year, where we have a chance to try to see if we can get approval of a school calendar. We had this on the agenda, the previous agenda, and tonight, very quickly, I wanted to. There were a couple of suggestions that were made, and I wanted the board to know that we thought we looked at them, discussed them, went back and forth, and there were the two major suggestions that had come out of our discussion at our last meeting was one that should we look at making the December winter break a full 2 weeks. And we looked at that, and I think we had talked a little bit last time at the meeting that there was concern that adding additional 2 days to this point automatically pushes the June date out a couple more days, and we had some concerns about that. But we don't know if we're going to be lucky enough. Through great management, we managed to have no snow days from after the August and October surprises, and we didn't want to push our luck on that. So that was one area that we looked at that had been discussed and suggested for our consideration. The second thing was the idea of looking at an alternate date for the February 3rd professional development date. And as I shared with you in the memo, Tim looked, and we spent some time looking at various possibilities. We looked at what it would have been like to add, move that date to the 16th of September. We looked at what the 16th of October might have looked like. We looked at December 2nd. And at the end of the day, we really felt that the dates, by moving that day into any of those months, it would further chop up the instruction and complicate our tasks. So we felt that was not something that we would recommend doing at this point. We also looked, and it wasn't the driver, but you recall a very impassioned presentation we had from one of our Cider Mill students a few years back about the having school the day after Super Bowl Sunday. And as it turns out, that 3rd is the day after the Super Bowl that will be held in the balmy Meadowlands in East Rutherford, New Jersey on February 2nd, 2014. And one of the things, in all truth, that in all candor, what we have very often instructionally on those days is a lot of very tired kids who've been up watching a sporting event which has taken on later and later over the years, I think.
And 1 or 2 adults.
And a few adults. So having said that, we would recommend for the board's action the calendar, the draft day that we had suggested, leaving the February 3rd as a professional development day as we had described.
So that means we leave a February vacation and
Right.
April vacation,
Right.
as we had this past year.
Right.
And our last day of school is currently scheduled for
It would be the 12th.
the 12th of June. And
And then
if we have any snow days,
it would go into the, we'd have one snow day, and then we would be into the week of the 16th. So we're still, it has some days built in that would, I think, given the average number of snow days we've faced in the last 10 years, I think it's averaged about 2 a year. So we feel comfortable that would still get us out.
Would you prefer to use snow days from the April break versus adding on to the end of the school year? I mean, what would you mean?
I think it depends how many of them you face. I faced that, I think, my first or second year in another district here in Connecticut. And we had it was the year was the winter of '94 when I believe we had 17 major storms starting. My family arrived from California the last day of December, and I think on May Day we were putting away the snow shovels that year. You may recall it snowed every Wednesday night. I remember, and we ended up using the April break there because we had already gone through. By the time we got to the end of March, we'd gone through 8 or 9 days or something of snow days. So we subtracted a day, as I had proposed this year, and we had bad weather. And what we found is that the elementary parents waved goodbye on the way to the airport. Half of the middle school parents did, and about 70% of the high school kids were there because of athletics and other demands of the high school. So it's not ideal, to rambling answer to a short question, it's not ideal, I think, to do that, but in years where you really get hammered.
Because you would only want to go out maximum one more week.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
The 21st being graduation day.
So
Like we are this year.
I don't know what the El Nino, I haven't consulted with Ms. Canty about what El Nino has in store for us next year.
And this school year is also the last year.
Or it's a year from now.
It's still a CMT year, this particular school year. It would be the one after that. Right.
any other questions?
No.
Motion to approve?
Make a motion that we approve draft day.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any comments?
Thank
Goes unanimously. Wonderful. Having completed our action items at this point, I believe we have now, haven't we?
Yes.
We move on to the consent agenda. Has everybody had a chance to look at the consent agenda?
Yes.
Any questions? Comments? Motion to approve?
So moved.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Great. I don't have a formal board chair report this evening other than to say how much we greatly appreciate all of the effort put forth in evaluating these textbooks. We greatly appreciate all the effort that was put forth in preparing the yearbooks, and we cannot thank our retirees enough for all of the years of dedication and service they've given to our schools, to our community, and to our children. Thank you.
I have some items tonight. So the first item is one, it's a great privilege to announce the results from the 2012 Connecticut Council of Language Teachers Awards for Excellence in World Languages. In order to qualify for this award, students must demonstrate excellence as indicated by an average equivalent to 90 or above for 3 marking periods and give evidence of a positive attitude towards language and cultures. And tonight you heard, I think, some very dynamic people who are leading our world language program, and I think we've had some great success stories in world languages, kids getting out of high school with a real ability to use language and appreciate culture in ways that some of us who were educated years ago don't have. The students in Madame Berlier's class, Adam Damon, William Chakowski, I think that's Jankowski, that's misspelled. Daniel Rieker of Sanjana Sekhar, and forgive me if I mispronounce the name, and Eveline, is it Z? Xie. And again, I apologize to Eveline. In Joanne Cordes' class, Catherine Bartek, Casey Chase, Ashley Lynch, Kyle Miller, Justin Walter. In Max Gabrielson's class, Mariette Deasy, Molly Hoke, Allison Schaefer, Paige Wallace, Grace Williams. In Veronica Hernandez's class, Sean Brosco, Casey Chase, Ryan Cross, Kyle Diedrich, Claire Hirsch. In Gladys Ramos's class, Selena Cardona, Sophie Delphius, two of our ABC scholars, Erica Miskinis, Miranda Morris, John Sweeney. In Scott Webster's class, Alex Bendix, Lindsay Johnson, Danielle Miskinis, Jacob Saltzman, and Brian Wee. And in Dr. Anna Zobler's class, Nicole Berg, Alyssa Chan, Lisette Roman Johnson, Kathleen Smith, and Ingrid Wang. So congratulations to a terrific group of world language scholars at high school. Second item, I'd like to make a comment on the incident of cyberbullying that you're aware of. It's with great sadness that I share something that came to our attention this week on Tuesday. We learned about some Twitter messages that appear to have been anonymously posted by some of our high school students. Sadly, the contents of these messages included disturbing and completely unacceptable sentiments, some of which were racist and some anti-Semitic. As educators and members of a community that respects and embraces people, it is frightening to see evidence of cyberbullying because we know what tragic impacts it can have. It is distressing to witness the level of ridicule and intolerance, and is unfathomable that some individuals choose to use hateful and demeaning language. In no way do the behaviors of a few misguided individuals represent our school and our community. In response to this incident, we have been in touch with both the Wilton Police Department and the Connecticut State Prosecutor's Office. In addition to this, our administration is conducting a thorough investigation. We also have been in contact with I spoke to the executive director of the Connecticut Anti-Defamation League last night, Gary Jones, and some members of our local clergy. Most importantly, the schools have reached out to some students we know have been affected by this to reassure them that we have no tolerance for such abhorrent behavior. I reported in 2009 to the board, and I shared our belief that as teachers and parents, we work very hard to help young people learn how to make appropriate choices. These choices include, but are not limited to, avoiding actions or comments which ridicule, harass, humiliate, or intimidate others, standing up to their friends and classmates when they see behaviors that are clearly inappropriate, letting adults know if there are things that are happening that are dangerous or illegal, and learning from their mistakes and making amends to those whom they may have hurt. It has been said that one way that we measure a community is to look at how it reacts to these kinds of situations. In the face of the ignorant and mean-spirited actions of a handful of individuals, it is my hope that we can send a clear, unequivocal, and united message that this kind of behavior does not represent our community and that it will not be tolerated. As two dear friends of mine have said, we choose rather to celebrate diversity, respect, and overall goodwill towards all. We firmly believe that at the end of the day, the voices of tolerance and respect will be louder than the voices of intolerance and cruelty. On a much, much more positive note, I'd like to announce that a great tradition of our graduating class was carried out again this week, which is the Senior Community Service Day. On Tuesday, approximately 102 Wilton High School seniors, which is about a third of the class. Remember, many of them are on internships, so could not also contribute to this, that participated in this day. And we had students working at our schools, at Miller Driscoll, Cider Mill, Middlebrook, and the high school, all four schools, helping teachers, administrators take care of some of the end of the year organizational issues, and really add hands to teachers who were packing up things or storing materials for next year. There were representatives who went to the Gregg Preserve. They worked in the high school art department, helping reorganize some of the classrooms and inventory equipment, materials. They worked in the language department, cleaning up and running programs to defrag computers. I'll have to ask Matthew what that means at another time. And sort textbooks. They worked in the choral library at the high school, and they worked on some other administrative help, supported some of the graduation details that are underway. So we really appreciate this gift from our senior class to the school and to our community. The last item I alluded to earlier tonight was the challenge, teachers versus students, and this afternoon in the cozy confines of the Little Theater, our state championship challenge team, Simon Brewer, captain, Will Jankowski, Jack Jankowski, Mohsin Jawed, and Molly Hoke faced off against a faculty team consisting of Scott Durkee, who's their captain, Maria Aspinwall from the Social Studies Department, Jim Sheridan, English, Peggy Muir-Tansman, Math, and Wilton High School Assistant Principal, the big guy, Rich Sanzo. I went up to the faculty and told them I didn't want to affect their self-concept or their confidence before the match, but that my money was on the kids. And as it turned out, the teams were very evenly matched until the lightning round, when our students pulled away and edged the faculty 460 to 315. So it was a joyful gathering. I thought in between the rounds, kids representing the debate club and the Model Congress and the Operation Smile gave public service announcements trying to recruit students. It was very clever, and it was a terrific audience of kids. But they raised money for it, I believe, to support the challenge. And the class of 2014. So it was all student initiated, and you would have loved it. It was a wonderful hour.
Did that get filmed? Do you know?
You know, I don't know. I didn't see cameras there.
No, oh, it's a shame.
But the young man, one of the young Mr. Dean, who was Fagin and Oliver, was the MC. And he was Alex Trebek. I mean, he was on a roll. It was very well done, and they used technology to chart the questions. It was just like a Jeopardy kind of a format. But I thought the young man, Mr. Dean, did a terrific job with that. So it was a nice way to end the day.
Thank you very much. On to committee reports. Are there any committee reports? Okay. We're now on to Policy 6150, Computer System Acceptable Use, Review and Discuss. Mr. Hepfer.
Good evening.
Good evening.
You may be wondering that it doesn't seem like there's a ton of changes here. There are a few small but significant changes, and I'll explain why. The changes really are reflective. We're federally, because we receive federal funds through E-rate, we're mandated to follow the Children's Internet Protection Act, which was enacted in the year 2000. Well, it was updated in October of 2011, and one of the requirements is that you add language into your policy that states that you teach digital citizenship. I just wanted to reassure the board that we have always taught digital citizenship, and in fact, the instructional leaders track the lessons that are taught and monitor them and update them as technology updates. So it's not something we haven't been doing. It's just that the federal law now mandates that we include this in the policy. The second minor change was just reflective of the changes in technology a little bit. We had refrained from transmitting and receiving appropriate email communications. We just changed that to electronic because so many technologies allow you to message within the program itself, so we just felt we'd broaden the language a little bit. And that's really the only final comment I'll make before I take your questions is I would really appreciate if this could be on a consent agenda if you don't have major opposition to this, because it is required to be in our policy by July 1st. By federal law.
The presentation has answered my question. And we can't just vote on it tonight, though. That's not an option.
By a motion to amend the agenda and vote on it, we can, with 2/3 vote.
Motion to amend the agenda so that we move this to an action.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, I'd like to have a motion to approve the policy as changed. Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We now move on to Mr. Post and the financial report.
We missed you last time.
I was here.
We've been waiting for this report.
I would have preferred to be here, believe me.
Hope you're feeling better.
Much better, yes. So this is the April financial report. As of the end of April, I'm projecting an operating budget deficit of $7,239. The projected savings in salaries and heating oil are offset by overages in special education contracted services, substitutes. And substitutes. Salaries are under budget due to retirements, leaves of absence, and the Education Jobs Grant Fund grant. The high number of leaves of absence is responsible for the overage in our substitute account. And heating oil obviously is significantly under budget due to the very mild winter. The projected special education deficit is $679,840, primarily due to the overage of $510,562 in contracted services. The contracted services exceed budget, mainly due to unanticipated services needed for several of our students, as well as for increased legal fees and an increase in homebound services that we've seen this spring. Outplacements remain very close to budget, and we continue to monitor that through the rest of the year. As I've reported before, I expect about $882,000 in excess cost reimbursement. After the town credits the board for the special education deficit, it leaves us with a net surplus of $672,601. As of April 30th, health benefits expenditures are over budget by $302,510. This is offset by the fact that our required OPEB contribution was $300,000 lower than budget. Our claims continue to be stable since this report. So we expect that the annual amount will be over budget by the same amount that we are now. Obviously, we continue to monitor that closely also. If the claims do increase beyond this level, we will draw down the reserve account to cover them. And if nothing changes, we expect to end the year with a very healthy medical reserve balance. The projected year-end reserve is $4,270,478. And the three components break down as follows. And this is the combined reserve with the town. The incurred but not reported claims funded at 100% is $1,340,000. The stop-loss corridor reserve funded at 85%, which is the top end of our policy, of $2,760,728. And then the fluctuation reserve is $170,750, which is 37% of that component. So we are almost fully funded. Now this will be adjusted over the summer. Ed Norgard will take our budget estimates and the town's budget estimates and develop new reserve requirements for next June, and I'll recalculate the percentages and reallocate as needed. But I expect that it'll still be well within our policy guidelines. I'll take any questions you have.
I just have a question on the special ed overages. Were these children known at the time this budget was put together, or are they relatively new to the district?
think Dan has a response.
They're both new to the district and they're new to eligibility and special education.
Okay, so we're talking
We
some
have not
preschoolers?
budgeted for them. Preschool and other students throughout the district.
Okay.
Not just preschool.
Thank you.
Same exact question.
We have a lot of questions from the community about the transparency of our budget by line item. I feel comfortable you've gone through this in fairly good detail. Are there any other variances in line items, significant variances in line items other than the items that you've spoken about here?
No.
I think that tells me you're running pretty close to budget other than these items that we're talking about. The other question I have for you is, this is the April 30th report, and we're sitting basically in the middle of June.
Yeah.
Are there any significant changes that you're aware of that would affect what you're reporting here the next time you report to us?
The next time I report to you, contracting services will have risen again. Health benefits are still running pretty stable. Those are the key things I look at most months in most volatile areas.
When you say we'll rise, are we looking at a dramatic rise or a rise in line with what we expect to see?
What we've been seeing.
Okay. Any other questions? Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
We now move on to the strategic plan report with Mr. Canty and the principals.
While the group is coming out, one of the things we're going to do is last year, you may recall, Anne was part of the report, and what we were going to do is to have the special education report to the board at our last meeting.
Well, I'll take the lead in summarizing our work for the strategic plan here in year 2 of our process. As you know, we focus on 6 strands. As part of the strategic plan: community involvement, faculty and staff, curriculum and instruction, academic and social emotional needs of our students, technology, and budget development, all designed to effectuate our outcome, our mission, which is that our students will possess the knowledge, skills, values, and passion necessary for lifelong learning and will be responsible, successful, and productive members of the workplace, family, and society in a rapidly changing world. You may recall that we presented to the board back right at the end of April, the beginning of the year-end report season, and I went through the process that we used here in our second year to try to help make this a more efficient presentation tonight. But just in the way of a quick review, you may recall that we had 3 primary goals here in the second year of implementing the plan. We wanted to focus on communication and ownership. We wanted to define focus areas, which we labeled as year 2 deliverables. And finally, we wanted to work with our team to enhance our ability to define student performance results that were truly based on what we described as evidence markers. So our teams at each of the buildings established those focus areas. There was a great deal of collaboration with our instructional leadership teams and our faculty on developing task action plans. It was indeed a results-driven approach. We tried to anticipate in the fall what our results would look like in the spring from both a qualitative and a quantitative aspect. And at this point, we're prepared to share with you, as you've seen in your report, what we're describing as an unabridged version of results for the current school year.
That's 24 pages.
And in doing so, I hope the board's takeaway is it's a most impressive summary of the work of the school district here in year 2 of the strategic plan. We still are, obviously, as was just stated, we're not quite to the end of the year, so we anticipate that more data will be forthcoming, and most notably, we're anxiously awaiting our standardized assessment data to arrive in the month of July for 2011-2012, which will play a major role in bringing this report to conclusion. Our the large task in front of us here in the coming months is to define what we've labeled as high priority results. And in doing so, our ambitious goal is to create super graphics, which we've decided to relabel as infographics, in the coming year, which would mirror what we used as part of our budget public relations effort. So we're going to work as a team to try to pull the results of our work together for this school year in a way that can be communicated to the community in a way which we hope will represent value and, quite frankly, will helpfully support the budget process for 2013, 2014, but who's counting? In any way, if I could, on behalf of the group, maybe just share some selected results of our work for this year that we feel reflects the best work of our teachers and our administrators. And in doing so, I think, again, you come away from the experience of the second year of this strategic plan really feeling like we've made an impact in improving the quality of our teaching practices, of the way we're organized, the way we support our students. That does reflect a continuous improvement effort. In the academic and social emotional strand, you may recall that we implemented our bullying policy at the beginning of the school year, and as required by law, at each of the schools we developed safe school climate plans. We've reinforced with our students our mission, our philosophy and beliefs around the way we conduct business in our schools. We heard Dr. Richards just a moment ago talk eloquently about what we expect of our school communities. This work is accomplished through a variety of approaches, class meetings, curriculum support, strong student-counselor relationships, and a wide range of programs across the schools that deal with a variety of topics. You heard, for example, Matt just spoke to the idea of digital citizenship and all that work entails. We celebrate student success. There's a wide range of celebrations that occur throughout the year at all of our grade levels. And we're working to, in this area around, again, social emotional needs, academic needs, the ongoing work of student success plans has been a focus of our team at the grade 6 through 12 level. Ambitious work led by both the Middlebrook team and the high school team, and we're feeling comfortable that we're ready to launch that work as was mandated as of July 1st. And that, of course, is a result of our strong guidance team, our administrative team and teachers, supplemented by a strong developmental guidance program and other social emotional programs that are in place across the district. In the area of curriculum and instruction, notable results, I think, focus on our data teamwork. You heard a presentation in the technology realm around the RTI Studio product. We've made, I think, great progress in our process to effectively respond to the mandate of providing scientific research-based interventions for our students. Our teams have developed benchmark assessments. They've been able to identify a range of interventions that impact large groups, small group, or individual students. We've been able to document the types of interventions that we've been using with students. We've been able to track that, particularly at the K-5 level, through the RTI Studio tool. And again, building-based teams, district-based data teams have worked effectively to move these programs forward. They've been, I think, in large part, a great deal of that success is due to the building-based professional development efforts that took place with our faculty, so that I think there's increased awareness across our general classrooms, classroom teachers, that there's a responsibility to be mindful of the identification of specific learning needs in students in such a way that there is a systemic approach to intervening to help those students. And I do think we've made great progress there. You heard a report of the tri-state visit in the area of literacy. We plan on following up with the board in the fall to give you more specific information about the recommendations that were made as part of that process. You've heard about our work on the Common Core and the so excited about the K-12 math program and all that work that took place. We've worked very hard as part of the strategic plan work to take our Wilton Information Technology Literacy Standards, more affectionately known as WITLS, and meld that with other 21st century resources to create a newly defined set of skills which we describe as our vision for teaching and learning. And that's going to be a focus for our work with our faculty next year to try to expand our ability to make sure that our classrooms are cutting edge and are indeed environments that promote 21st century skill building. In the area of technology, under Matt's leadership and our building-based instructional leadership team and administrators, you certainly have heard many reports on the technology area, our professional development efforts, the Tech Institute. We are very proud of the 22 teachers who participated in the Smart Certified Lesson Developing Training Program. We do feel that there's anecdotal evidence that suggests that our teachers are increasing their knowledge of best practice in the infusion of technology into the classroom. I mentioned again the incorporation of digital learning tools as part of our vision for teaching and learning, the work around curriculum mapping, which is ongoing. I think that we're finding, due to the incorporation of technology tools consistently into our classrooms through the efforts of many organizations such as the Foundation, the Smartboard technology, that we're seeing greater evidence of assured experiences across grade levels in the use of technology. And finally, in the area of community involvement, we're really proud of our work here in this strand. We are confident that over 90% of our parent community have been activated to use the Edline website in each of our schools, which wasn't an easy task. Our building-based administrators did a great job on that. We've had a wide range of professional development opportunities for our teachers in using the website. You'll find department grade level and team updates, calendars of events. You're seeing updated curriculum overviews provided through our website, regular postings by classroom teachers at all the grade levels. We certainly are in various stages of evolution in this work. We have a continuum of expertise on our faculty, so we're working to try to train up those teachers who need help and make sure that we're consistent in the approach of how the website is used across grade levels, across departments, across teams. As you know, we were able to use technology in the placement process last summer. We've been seeing evidence of a decrease in parent phone calls requesting information because that information is available online. At the high school, the program of study for the first time was carried forward online, so we saved a little money on printing. Our Wilton High School newspaper actually went online this year. And you've seen evidence of the work that we do to communicate to our parent community through electronic mail, etc. The schools have also done a wonderful job in communicating the wide range of events that take place in the schools, programs, and activities through press releases, through an invitation to the press to come in and work closely with us to promote our programs through various articles, the wide range of volunteer efforts that are part of the schools. Again, the extent to which we celebrate the accomplishments of our students, the extent to which we try to keep our parents informed about the wide range of programs, the work of the Wilton Education Foundation and their many events, our wide-ranging fine and performing arts programs, and all those wonderful opportunities that we have to celebrate both the visual and performing arts. We've had a wide range of successful community events where we've invited participation by the community, our Veterans Day celebrations, events attended by senior citizens, our students marching in parades, just a wide range, finally, of service projects. Our students go out of their way to support the community and give back. So I did try to memorize that list unsuccessfully, so I did have to consult my notes, and there are, as you know, many more results. We've tried again to be more quantitatively and qualitatively driven in our work to try to define, again, evidence markers that are directly related to student learning. I will say that we've made great progress this year, in my estimation, in working as a team, but there's still work to be done. It's very difficult to isolate the variables around student learning, so you get a wide range of performance metrics that come into play where we try to make the case that we're getting the job done. And just want to, on behalf of Dr. Richards and the central office team, acknowledge that this work took place in our buildings, led by our principals, led by our assistant principals, our instructional leadership teams, and our teachers. And the strategic plan is a vitally important document that reflects the important components of what's necessary to make a school district work well. And to the extent that the strategic plan in its development and how it was conceived and the opportunity that it has presented to expand and improve the work of our school district, I think the evidence is quite clear that it's working. So we look forward to a long summer. Actually, it's a short summer.
It's a short summer.
And I'll be working closely with my colleagues to try to do the difficult work of taking, again, what is a wide-ranging document, which we will post to the website tomorrow for the community so they can take a look at the more specific summary of results. But we do, again, plan to try to consolidate the results of our Year 2 effort once the standardized assessment data comes in a way that's more user-friendly and, again, will support the mission of our schools and the opportunity to communicate the good work. So we invite your questions.
I just have a comment on the community strand. I know a number of senior citizens who have taken advantage of the tickets that we have provided to the high school performances, and they are not only grateful for the ticket, but are very impressed with the level of the performances.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
In each of the schools, in each of these different areas, you have strategic planning teams made up of faculty, staff, and students, members of the community. It appears to me that there's a dozen, maybe a dozen and a half people on those teams. I've had people ask me how those teams are created. If they wanted to get involved, what would they do? Do you have any feedback on that?
Well, my colleagues are welcome to jump in. I think that the work, what we describe as our progress review teams, that work is evolving. We were able in our final meeting of the teams in the spring to get some feedback from the membership about how the process is working and to what extent we can leverage the participation of these teams, which, as you described, represent a wide range of constituents to support the process. I find, based on the feedback, that at this point we use this meeting time to disseminate information to the teams and to hear from them how we're doing. I think we need to promote, to a greater extent, the advisory part of this work, so that when these teams come together and work with our building administrators and staff, we're getting more counsel about not only how things are going, but what we need to do to make our schools more effective. The membership on these teams is somewhat transitory, although a wide, I'd say a vast majority of the team membership returned in Year 2. But if anybody in the community had an interest in participating on the progress review teams, they could simply contact the building principal as a vehicle to try to see if there would be an opportunity to serve. We're always looking for folks to serve.
Wonderful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? It's a great year. Thank you so much for all of your hard work.
You're welcome.
It's a very, very important part of what we do.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have successfully moved through almost all of a very, very large agenda this evening. With that, did we miss any comments that anybody wanted to make?
I do. I have a comment.
You have an exciting comment.
I do. I should have reported under the committee reports that the Board of Selectmen has accepted the Miller Driscoll Statement of Requirements as complete. Bill Brennan asked the Council on Public Facilities to create an RFP for forensic investigation of the facility. They went to Turner Construction. Turner has provided a proposal to do that work. The Selectmen have accepted it. It will take approximately 6 weeks to investigate the structure, and that work is expected to be done this summer. So we have taken a step forward.
Congratulations. Thank you.
I have a couple comments.
Yes.
Thanks too. Two things. The first thing I wanted to say is that we were all invited to go to Cider Mill School for their celebrations. And I think Bruce went one day and I went the other day, and I wanted to just say that it was a fabulous presentation. And as I said to Catherine and Tom, I think they do a fabulous job celebrating the children, and I was quite proud to be there and happy to be included in that. Thank you. And the other thing I want to say, this morning I went to the 5th grade field day at Cider Mill, and the top inclusion models were there. And I was so impressed with their work. Even my daughter had a little meltdown, and do you want to come play with me? I was just so impressed with that group of kids and their dedication to it all. So I just needed to recognize that you're doing a great job with that, and it was very helpful for my daughter today too. So thank you.
Wonderful. Anybody else? Anything else? Well, with that, we move on to future business and announcements. The timeline is, of course, on the website. Our next meeting is June 28th. It's a regular meeting. It will begin here in the professional library, and one of the items on the agenda at that meeting will be to approve suspending summer meetings. Some of us are hoping that will pass.
No, I'm going to miss you guys.
At this point, as we do at every board meeting, we welcome comments from the public, both at the beginning of the meeting and at the end of the meeting. Is there anybody that would like to come speak with us? Seeing none, I'd like to adjourn the meeting. Thank you.
You need a motion.
Oh, I need a motion.
Yeah.
Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second. All in favor? Aye. Thank you, Molly.
I have to make it up.